What the cake is going on, you guys? Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to cover a cake in fondant. Now this step of the process is very important, so pay close attention and keep on watching. So for today's tutorial, we're going to need the following items, which are staples in your cake workshop if you are getting started. So first things first is your silicone mat. This is extremely important. And you should be buying the one specifically for baking because it does have the numbers to guide you when you're rolling out your fondant, which is amazing. This one I got from IKEA. You're going to need the large rolling pin. There is only one kind, a cutter, a fondant cutter. You could also use a pizza cutter, but it's super sharp, so I don't recommend it. 2 fondant smoothers to smooth out your edges. One with the round side, turntable, any turntable, and your fondant. Now, your fondant does matter because the brand has different consistencies, so maybe play around with a few. A really popular one that I use is satin ice because it tastes really good. So let's get started. Okay, so the very first tip in all of this is to knead your fondant. You have to knead your fondant. It's so important. Otherwise, you're gonna waste your fondant. So when it comes out of the box, if you are buying it, it's going to come out really crumbly like this. So your fondant should not be doing this. It should be nice and smooth. So typically I would knead it for a couple of minutes, but it really depends on the texture of your fondant, depending on the brand. Now you could make the fondant yourself. It is just marshmallow and icing sugar, and then you just knead it really well into each other, but that's a whole different ball game. It's a lot of work. I don't do that just because it takes up so much time. So the fondant that I use is store-bought, and I do use different brands depending on what's available. So a certain brand that I use, Virgin Ice, it's so easy to work with, but I had to purchase another brand, Satin Ice, and it does come out, I think it tastes better, but it just comes out so rough. So I'm gonna take a couple of minutes to knead this, and then I'm gonna show you what it should look like, the consistency, like this. Oops. Okay, so I think that we're done. And by the end of this, you should have really nice muscular arms. It's so much work, you guys. Okay, so in the beginning was rough when you pulled it, but now you should have a more smoother, like pliable consistency and texture to work with. And it should roll out really nicely with no lumps or bumps. And if there is lumps or bumps, I'm gonna teach you how to get rid of that. So keep on watching. Okay, so now we do some math. I have a 5-inch cake that I need to roll out. Obviously 5-inch on the top, and then depending on how high your cake is, you're gonna add 5 inches on the side and the other side, so that's 15 inches. We gotta roll out this piece of fondant into 15 inches. It does kind of stretch out, so we'll do 14. I have my handy dandy silicone mat in front of me that actually has the sizes. So this is the consistency that you are looking for. It's nice and smooth, no rough texture. And then before you roll it out, just roll it into a ball because the ball is going to form the shape when you roll it out really nicely. Okay. I mean, in my channel, you will notice that I always start working with fondant in a ball shape, just because this way you have an idea of the size that you're working with and to see if it's actually like already nice and smooth and ready to work with. So this is ready to roll. For my tool that I'm going to use to roll out the fondant, you cannot use any rolling pin. It has to be this, what is this called? Like acrylic. Like I don't even know what this is called, but it's heavy, it's got weight, and it's dangerous. This would be probably my first choice of weapon if there was a home intruder, because this thing has got some real weight on it. I think there is only one available if you were to go into a baking store. There's one this size to roll out your fondant, and then there's like a much smaller one. So you need the bigger size. There is only two sizes, so the bigger size. You're just gonna go in and start flattening it and rolling it out, but try to keep the shape of the circle. Because if you start rolling it into a square, then you're gonna not be able to cover your cake properly and nicely. And take your time doing this. There is no rush. If you rush the process, you will tear your fondant. We don't want that, and then you're just gonna waste your fondant. I've done it many times. This is a labor of love. So. All right, so you're gonna go nice and slow, and you're going to just roll out every inch as you go. See how I'm going from this size to this size, really slowly to my desired size. If you're starting out, having this really, really helps. I don't use it anymore, but I remember back in the days, it was very helpful. So after we've rolled out our fondant, there's two ways you can cover it. We can test our luck and lift this and hope it doesn't break, or we can take the easy way out, lift the entire mat and then just cover it. So if you want to come in close, I'll show you how I do it to make sure that your entire cake is covered. Okay, so basically you're going to use the end here of your fondant, put it at the end of your cake, so that you know that that side is going to be completely covered, and just try to aim it where it's center. So there we go. Like I said before, it does stretch out a little bit. So if the ends are not fully at the bottom, we're gonna stretch it out a little bit. So don't worry about that. See, like here, and just lift it and stretch it out. In a second, I'll show you how to do that. So to pat out your fondant, you're just gonna use the side of your hand, and we're just gonna go around nice and slow and pat down the sides. And we're doing it slowly like this all around so you don't get folds in your fondant. If you do one side, this side is just gonna fold. And you wanna try your best just to even it out nicely on all sides. And you're gonna go all the way around until you get to the very bottom. We are going to go in with a cutting tool. We are going to go in with a cutting tool. You could also use a pizza cutter and keep this thing at like an angle, because I have done this many times where I go straight in and the sides here, this rolling part, dug into my fondant and it hurt my soul so bad. So in at an angle, and we're just going to press down really hard to make sure the extra fondant gets cut off. So covering a cake in fondant is quite the process. It does require a lot of practice. You're not gonna get it the first time. You're not gonna get it the third or 10th time. It's probably gonna take you a year. I think it took me a year to perfect this step. Just a lot of practice. It really depends on the type of tool that you're using, and the type of cake that you're using. The room temperature that you're in affects this a lot as well. Try to keep it in a cool space. Otherwise, it does start getting sticky, and that's where trouble begins. It's really, really hard to work with sticky fondant. So after you dry your hands when you're working with fondant, so if I'm washing my hands after this, I need to make sure that it's completely dry. A drop of water on fondant is just going to ruin everything. Well, it's not going to ruin everything, but it's going to be a struggle from there on. So after we've covered it, you can leave your edges like this, nice and round. There are a lot of cakes that are left like this. It's so cute, just like more cuter look, I think. But if we want to achieve an edge, we are going to go in with our 2 fondant smoother. You will notice that I have one completely rectangle one and one that has the curved on the side. This is for the top of a round cake. So we're gonna go in, one on top, one on the side, and we're gonna pinch. This is called the pinching technique. It's harder than it looks. We're pinching out the edges So if you want to come close, I'm going to show you exactly what I do to get the edges. Using the edge here, both the edges, we're going to pinch it. A little bit of pressure, not too much. And then we're just going to go around and all the way around until you get what the desired look that you're looking for. So sometimes it's, you know, not as sharp, but if you want really sharp, you keep going until you get that sharp edge. So the air bubble happens if your buttercream on the cake is not perfectly even. These do happen, or these do come up, and it does happen a lot. All you do is go in with a little toothpick on the edge, specifically on the edge, because you can smooth this out after. So, and then you just push the air bubble out, just like that. And it's gone. And then I have a little dot there, but we're just gonna go back with our fondant smoother and close it up, try to, or cover it with decor. So also a little trick on how to transfer this cake onto your decorative cake board. I just use two, one on top. I'm gonna flip it, and then I'm just gonna place it on the one that you're using. A lot of times like the cake board that I'm using for this 5 inch is a 6 inch. I don't have a 5 inch, but I also don't want to use my 6 inch as the decorative one. So we're gonna switch it up. I'm just gonna quickly flip it, peel this off, and try to center this as best as you can. Flip it around. And that's it for this cake that I'm making. And there you guys have it. So this particular cake, my client just wanted pink cake covered in this Barbie pink. It's so cute. And a happy birthday sign, and that's it. I mean, it looks simple, but it does require a lot of practice. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and practice, practice, practice. If you guys have any suggestions, leave a comment below, and I will see you next time.